Today, we're going to be talking about how to fund your business. This is Mykel, the entrepreneur, coming back with some more entrepreneurial content. Welcome to day 6 of the 10-day challenge. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so by hitting that subscribe button and also banging on that notification bell. If this is your first time to my channel through this video, thank you for coming. There are 5 days that I want you to catch up on. Go back to those videos. I will link to that playlist down below in the description. I'm going to be giving you 6 different ways that you can fund your startup or your new idea. The first way that you can capitalize your business, and it seems really simple, but some people need to hear this, but through you. It can be, money that you've saved up. It can be money that you have in a trust, money that is coming from, assets that you already currently own. You can sell a car that you own, or you can borrow money against your house. There's many different ways that you can raise the capital between your own finances to be able to fund your new business idea. The next way that you can fund your business is going to be through family and friends. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you need to think about and be aware of when you are asking family and friends to invest their money into your business. The first thing is you want to let them know that there's a huge possibility that they're not going to receive a return on their dollar, or there might be a loss. They'll give you $1,000, but there could be a huge possibility that they will not receive that money back. Business and family don't mix. And that is true when, family members have the impression, or you sell them this dream that, they're going to double their money or triple their money if they were to invest in a business idea. And if you're upfront with them in the beginning and you let them know this is a possibility, I could take this money from you and you may not receive this money back. And then let them make that decision based off of that. And it will help you a lot. The second tip that I want you to know is it's not easy, number one, just to ask family members, but then number 2, just to have that relationship, moving forward. So you have to make sure that you're ready for that. If you are going to ask a family member for money to invest in your business, you have to be aware that, when you have family events or trips or whatever's happening within your family, that money's going to get brought up, or, you have to understand like that's going to be a topic that is going to be discussed. So if you're not willing to have those conversations or keep that family member in the loop, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very hard. The last thing is you need to be clear. And this kind of sums up the problems that you would have with the first 2 things that I talked about, is you just need to be clear. I think that when you're asking and soliciting family for, money to invest into your business, actually sit down with them and write these ideas on paper. Take it a step further, write it in a Word document, print it out, have them sign something that, is stating everything that you're planning on using that money for, and when should they receive, a update on when their money is going to be returned to them. How are you going to be reporting, certain things to them? Are they going to receive, a little bit up until, the full amount is? So let's say you borrow $1,200 and you say, for the next year, I am going to pay you back $100 until the money's paid back, and that starts 3 months after, the date of the signature or the date of the agreement. So, you're giving yourself 3 months to actually go in and create the cash flow. And then at 3 months, they should be receiving $100 up until, it's just easier for you to actually put what that arrangement is and what the rules are up front. And you also want them to know if they are just investing in your business, if they're not giving advice and they're just an angel investor, which means they're just giving money and they're allowing for you to run the business. They're not like an actual partner in the business. You want them to know these things up front. So the next way to raise money for your business, this is something that I've used a lot. Whenever I started a business, this typically is probably, besides, me having my own capital to invest in my business, and this is selling your service first. People do this all the time, and this is just the way the world is. When you go online and you purchase a product, you pay for the product before you receive the product, right? That's why there's a whole world of drop shipping. And that's why it's so lucrative, because people pay for their products before they receive them. And then if they don't like what they receive, then there's a money back guarantee and all these things. So when people are paying up front, it allows for you to purchase the raw materials and the cost of goods, to produce the cost of goods, the labor, all that stuff, is an upfront cost to someone like your business. And by the time they receive it, everything has been paid for. Sometimes that first job would be able to pay for, the materials to produce not only that job, but to produce other jobs after that. So for example, for me, I do graphics and printing, and when I have a print job, let's say I go to my local silkscreen store and I purchase ink. When I'm purchasing ink, unless it's a huge order, oftentimes the ink that I purchased, the $34 that I purchased for that quart, I'm going to be able to use that for many different jobs. So that's the great thing about having your customers pay up front. Another way that you can have them pay is you have them pay a deposit. You send out an invoice, and then on that invoice, which if you want to use a really good resource for this, is PayPal. And I'm not sponsored by them, but I love PayPal because you can actually invoice your customers, tell them you want to have them pay a deposit, and it tells a minimum amount that they can pay, and they can pay it. It goes right into your PayPal account, and you're able to capture, those deposits and the actual amount of the invoice. So it's great to have. So the next way to fund your business is going to be crowdfunding, and there's many types of crowdfunding sources out there and platforms. One of them is GoFundMe. You can use those platforms and you can go out and raise money for your business. And there's two different types of like crowdfunding that I like to say. One is product, where you're actually promoting a product. People say they really like it. And the way that they say they like it is they purchase it in advance, and then you go in, you use that capital, you use the revenue that you've generated from that business idea, and then you start production and you send it out and fulfill all of those orders. And then the other one is equity crowdfunding, and that's where people aren't just purchasing the product, they're actually purchasing equity within the business. So they're purchasing the value of the business, so then they're the owners. Now, you want to find a platform that carefully outlines the rights of the investors. So if they are actually buying into the business, what is going to be their obligations? Are they actually going to be a part of the operations where they're giving feedback, or they're able to talk about how the products are made, and they're an actual partner? Or are they just going to be an angel investor, which is short for AI, and they're just offering their money, and then they are going to be receiving paybacks through dividends? So you want to make sure you deal with a platform that carefully outlines those rights of the investor, so people are aware that, hey, if I put in money to this business, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be going in and I get a say-so in the colors of the products and the packaging and all that. And most people don't really want that type of responsibility anyways. They just want to see a return on their dollar. So the next one is going to kind of lead into that. And I know I talked a little bit about angel investors in the last one, but now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this concept of finding, funding through angel investors and or, venture capitalists in this time. And there's going to be always, a fluctuation of when it's appropriate for you to, look for these types of funding sources. And whenever there is, a lapse in the economy, most times when you have an angel investor, they're not going to want to invest because it's a little too risky, especially, with COVID and things like that. So it just depends. And the thing about this is you want to make sure, and I've talked about this before, you want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward when you are creating your business plan, when you're thinking about your financials, when you're projecting, profits and losses, and, you're projecting the revenue that you're expecting through your business, because this is the documentation that you are going to be submitting, to an angel investor and or venture capitalist. We like to call them AIs or VCs. Now, there are some things when it comes to reaching out for this specific type of funding source. Number one, they have a timeline. So because they're giving you a certain amount of capital, they want to see a return on their dollar as soon as possible, because oftentimes they have their money working in many different avenues, and they like to take the money that they make from this business and they want to invest it in another business and vice versa. So they have their money working for them. So they like to see a return on their dollar within typically around a 4 to 8 year, timeline. So what that really does for your business is it puts you on a timeline. It really puts pressure on you to perform. And that's what angel investors and venture capitalists, they really want to see. Progress. They want to see numbers go up. Even if it's a certain percentage, they want to make sure it's going up. The three things that I want you to think about when you are, looking into this specific type of funding source. And number one, they need to have their agendas aligned with your agenda. So Shark Tank is a huge representation of that process. A lot of the VCs on there, they invest in businesses that they have an aligned agenda with. Number two, they need to understand your timeline. So you want to make sure your timeline for growth is on the same page. And then lastly, they need to bring value. That's one of the reasons why Shark Tank is so successful, is because when it first started out, it was all about the money and people actually being able, just to get the money. But then, not saying that, the sharks didn't have relationships in pool at the time, but I think specifically to the audience that watches Shark Tank nowadays, it just opened up a whole total different audience, because now people are watching the show specifically, and then the amount of traffic that they're getting just from just the people that watch the show is an added market. So you want to make sure that whoever you're soliciting, they can bring actual value, rather it be the resources, rather it be the know-how. You don't want them just to bring money, because if they're just bringing money and they don't have an aligned agenda, and then they also don't understand your timeline, it's going to be a horrible partnership. So you want to make sure those three things are aligned. They understand your agenda. They agree with your agenda. Number two, they understand the timeline. And then number three, they actually bring value, and they also can bring, that creativity, to the business. So the last and final one, number 6, is going to be equity through partnership. So there's two different ways you can execute this. And then the first one I'm very familiar with, because I actually did have a business partner. So you can have it to where, you bring in a partner, and when you bring in a partner, you don't want to bring someone that has the exact same skills as you, because you're not going to benefit. You're going to clash in so many different ways, because you guys have the same attributes. You have the same strengths. So it's not going to benefit you. You want to get someone that kind of differs from, your strengths, so that, the business gets stronger. So if you are really good at, personal relations and PR, and you're a huge seller, but you're not that great at systems, you're not that great at the, the analytical fine line stuff, you should find a partner that understands that stuff, so that they could be working and mastering this part of the business while you're mastering, the sales and figuring out how to get people in the door, and they're figuring out, how to manage that, how to, work on those nuances in the systems and the timing, and, how to get things out there, the legitimate logistical stuff. So that's when partnerships work. And when you bring someone in that can do that, they also have equity in the business. So, that's how a good partnership works. The other way, and I know that Starbucks does this with, their employees. I think their employees actually own stock within the business. But another way you can do it is you actually do have, an employee or someone that is offering a service, but then you're also giving them a piece of the company as well. It doesn't have to be a lot, because if you give too much away, then it lessens your ability to be able to grow and scale the business in the future, and raise capital and find other investors if need be later down the future. So you want to be really careful when you are doing this with, someone that is offering a service to the business. But you can do it. I wouldn't say that you can't. You can offer a small percentage, to, that person that is, offering that unique service to your business. So now let's get into your plan of action. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the 6 different funding sources, and I want you to narrow it down to 3. Okay, because I think that it's really important for you to have more than one option in finding, funding for your business. You don't want to just put all your eggs in one basket. You want to find different ways. And then what I want you to do is I want you to actually, gather the information using the information that we talked about, and I want you to actually go out and talk to these funding sources. So if it's family, I want you to actually create that contract, or create, those guidelines, and actually sit down with, family members that you think might be interested in investing in you and your business. If you are taking the route with, getting AI or a VC, then you need to go in and do a little bit more homework, be specific on who you're actually going after and who you're going to solicit, and create the paperwork, create the business plan, create the financial reports, so that you can then set up some time to go and speak to those institutions or those entities. Or if you are looking, to, find a partner, there's different ways you can do that. You can go on LinkedIn. You can, find people that have a like mind, that are in the same industry, and then find ways to communicate with, those potential prospects. So please like this video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions or you want to, share some information. Let's say you've had some knowledge on, how to, properly solicit a partner or what conversations you should have with that partner, when you are forming this relationship and actually trying to grow this business. So thank you guys for attending day 6 of this challenge, this 10-day challenge. So I will see you guys tomorrow for day 7.